Hello everybody, this is Pyra, and it is the night before patch 7.1 Crossroads, and the full complete patch notes for 7.1 have just dropped. Now, we did a preliminary patch note reading just a couple days ago, however, this is the complete version, and boy is it a huge amount of patch notes. I will not have time, unfortunately, to go over all of these. A lot of these were covered in the preliminary without changes or minimal changes, but I figured tonight we will just go over the battle adjustments, the battle changes that were noted here in these patch notes. And now, for the sake of not just completely reading line for line everything that's going to be in here, we're going to talk about all of the high points for each job, and without further ado, let's get into it. The first job on our list is Paladin. So Paladin has received a longer range on cover. It has been extended from 10 to 20 yalms. Intervene is now unlocked at level 66 instead of 74, and Hallowed Ground's effect will now be applied sooner. So you won't die as much in the small gap of time between pressing the button and actually being invuln, which is a great update. The next is for Warrior. Holmgang's invulnerability will also be applied sooner, kind of like Paladin, and the hit detection for Chaotic Cyclone will trigger earlier. For Dark Knight, a handful of different things happening here. First is Dark Mind. Dark Mind will now work for physical damage on top of already mitigating magic damage. Living Dead will apply invulnerability sooner. Abyssal Drain got its cure potency buffed, which is always a plus. Carven Spit got a cure added, so Dark will have some better sustain. A couple abilities, potency buffs throughout. And then the last big major note is going to be Dark Missionary will also reduce physical damage by a bit, meaning that Dark Knight has some form of raid mitigation now. Next tank up on the list, the final tank is Gunbreaker, and I am already hearing all the Gunbreakers I know rejoice. Aurora got a buff to its cure potency, so we have a buff there. Super Bolide is going to be completely changed in the sense that its invuln effect will not only apply quicker, but the HP will only be reduced to 50%. So no longer going down to 1 HP, it'll now be 50% of the tank's HP instead of going down to 1, which is huge. It's the first major change like that since it came out. Heart of Light will now reduce physical damage by 5%. Hypervelocity got a small nerf, but with everything else going on, I think Gunbreakers are still okay. And Double Down now only costs 1 cartridge instead of 2. So Gunbreaker definitely got a bunch of positive buffs there. And now we move on to some of the melee DPS. The first being Dragoon. So Piercing Talon got a buff and now also grants Enhanced Piercing Talon for buffed version. Elusive Jump gives you the Elusive Piercing Talon buff. Gerskogel now only gives 1 stack of Nastron Ready. Mirage Dive, Nastron, Stardiver, and Starcross all got buffs and damage overall. And finally, Starcross got a range buff, so now it can be used as a ranged attack, which will be good since we all know that melees don't really have enough overall for the range capabilities. So next up is Ninja, and while Ninja didn't get a lot as far as the number of changes, it got some big changes. First is Throwing Dagger and Dream Within a Dream got potency buffs. Dokumore was changed to a Conal AoE. Ninjas can now move during Tenshijin, which is huge. I do not play Ninja, but I can imagine how crazy of a change that is. And finally, Tenri Jindo's hit detection will trigger earlier. So a lot of changes for Ninja, even though a couple highlights, they are really powerful highlights. Samurai is up next with Hisato Gyoten, and I probably butchered that. Hisato Gyoten recast timer got cut in half. Gyofu, I am so bad at these names. Gyofu and Zanshin got potency buffs, and Tendo Keishi Setsugaka got changes to the animation and visual effects. For Reaper, Arcane Circle will now give stacks of Immortal Sacrifice when anybody lands an ability. Void Reaping, Cross Reaping, and Grim Reaping will no longer be illuminated on the hotbar when Lemur Shroud stacks are at 1 after learning Communia. In Executioner's Gallows, hit detection will no longer trigger early. For Machinist, pretty simple there, just a lot of potency buffs, as well as a small increase in the AoE range for Flamethrower. For Dancer, Fan Dance 1 and Fan Dance 3 got some potency buffs. Curing Waltz had its AoE range increased, and Starfall Dance can now be switched with Devilment with action change settings if you prefer to use it. Next job here is my baby Black Mage. Couple of really good things, some that we had already seen from the live letter. Blair's cast time was reduced by 1 second, so it was at 4 and now it's down to 3 seconds. Ley Lines now has 2 charges, so that is exciting. But no worries about accidentally using the second charge since it can't be used while already under the effect of Ley Lines. So you cannot double dip, thankfully, but a big change there, a big quality of life increase, if you ask me, going into Ultimates. And the other 2 changes for Black Mage, Despair is now an instant cast ability, no longer a cast ability, and Enochian got a tiny nerf by 1%. Summoners got a few changes as well. Crimson Cyclone now grants Crimson Strike ready. Crimson Strike is no longer a combo action. It just requires the effect that Crimson Cyclone gives, and some potency buffs for Ifrit, Titan, Garuda, and Solar Bahamut. Red Mage, just buffs. That's pretty much it. Just some potency buffs there. Nothing crazy. Pictomancer, all of the paintings will be automatically enabled when entering an instance instead of having to paint them individually. This is going to be fantastic, especially if you're going into a roulette, especially a trial or a normal roulette, and you don't want to lose out on your paintings because you have a tank that early pulls. This will help save you there, in my opinion. And the only other really big change is Starry Muse's ground effect will not appear when battle effects are set to show limited. Healers, as a whole, got an adjustment on top of the individual healers. This, I think, is huge. It is a big, big change here. As soon as cast time has been made instant. So we've never seen that before. It was a cast, now it's going to be an instant cast, which also makes me think that there will be heavy, crazy things going on in Ultimates, but that's a different conversation for a different day. White Mage being one of the first healers here. Holy and Holy 3 cast times have been reduced to 1.5 seconds. Asylum's visual effects have been adjusted. Glare 3 and Afflatus Misery got a small potency buff. And Divine Caress's range has been doubled. So not just increased, but doubled. Scholar got a few updates. Embrace got a buff. Yay, Eos! Eos is getting some love, probably not as much as she deserves, but she gets some. Seraphic Veil also got a buff. Yay, Seraph! We're trying, poor Scholar mates. And then the last thing is Adlo, Sucker, Consultation, Manifestation, and Accession all got their MP costs reduced. So a little bit of love for the Scholars. Astro, tiny changes, not too shocking, especially after the rework in Dawn Trail. Gravity and Gravity 2 now have a larger AoE range. That is it for Astros. And then the last job for changes is Sage, Prognosis, Eucrasian Diagnosis, Eucrasian Prognosis, Eucrasian Prognosis 2. Those all got MP cost reductions, so definitely seeing a trend with the healers here. Doses 3, Toxicon 2, Numa all got small potency buffs, and Philosophia got a range increase from 20 to 30 yalms. So, very characteristic to what the other healers are looking like. I speculate if this is something that was just lacking in the current content as it is, or if this is to gear up for Fru, the newest Ultimate coming out soon, the Chaotic Alliance raids, just some harder content in general. Kind of speculating a little bit about both. And then the last job adjustment that I'll just mention right here is that the job HUD explanations for Black Mage and Viper have been updated. So that is it. That is all of the job changes that were listed in the final patch notes. there is a lot. There's a lot of different things. I will have a link to the Lodestone patch notes in the description of this video. There is a lot in these patch notes in general, and I will not have time to make a full video over it. So also check out the preliminary notes video if you haven't already. Check out the patch notes directly on the Lodestone if you want to have all the latest information about 7.1. And thank you so much for watching. If you like more Final Fantasy XIV news, updates, shenanigans, memes, and more, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It means a lot to me and my channel. And we will see you in patch 7.1. Bye!